Good morning. Good to see you all. So yeah, we're really full class today. So we've got a new month this month, and we're going to start a new project, which is painting foliage, trees, and look at the greens. So I thought I'd start with the colour mixing bit today, and also look at some of the greens that you can get straight out of tubes. So with the last project, the Introduction to Oils project, I talked about colour mixing, and we looked at mixing colours just using the primary colours. And I was suggesting that you have each of the primaries and use what they call a split primary. So you have say 2 yellows. One yellow might be slightly greeny yellow, and the other yellow would be a slightly orangey yellow. And then the same with the blues, a greeny blue and a purpley blue. An orangey yellow and, no, I've done yellow, red, purpley red and an orangey red. So they were the colours I suggest you start with. But I thought you're also going to have lots of colours in your paint box. There's going to be greens, browns and other colours to use. So I thought I'd just touch on some of those and some of the ways that you can mix, either using greens straight out the tube or mixing greens, you know, with what we're just looking at. And these got this picture here, and I thought we'd perhaps have used that and see if we can mix some of the colours in there, and just generally talk a little bit about greens. So there's some folders here that are picked out that are generally landscaping. So you don't have to do this project, but if you fancy doing this project, hopefully some images there. I brought in a few paintings as examples. So this was one I did actually for Southend Art Club as a demo. I did quite a bit of it as a demo, and then I finished off a lot of the details at home. This was a couple of years ago, so this is Canterbury. And these are the kind of greens that really appeal to me. I quite like backlit trees, I find them really appealing. Where you've got the light sort of shining through the leaves and it kind of glows. That's one example. And this little picture of London, not quite finished, bit of work in the foreground here, so I might take that back some time, but this was a similar sort of subject. Slightly sparkly light with the trees backlit. This other one, I thought I'd show you. This was another demo, and this one isn't finished really. And I've very much just kind of sketched trees in the distance there. But it's really looking at getting some darker areas, and that's probably a little bit too dark really, and then some lighter areas. But these trees, the light is kind of shining this way. So whereas with those, I've probably just used more colours like yellows and blues. These I've mixed some whites in with the greens to give that impression of the light kind of bouncing off them.
Where is that one?
This was Ludlow. So I painted this from a photograph I took in Ludlow, up in Shropshire. Yeah, it's lovely Ludlow. Beautiful place. So that's that one. And then I've got some pretty dingy greens here that went to Mersey Island yesterday and painted in the wind. And these were, that was the sort of day we had yesterday. But again, they're kind of, when I started the painting just before Christmas, these are like those kind of salt marshy greens, you know, there's almost like little bits of red in with those. They're quite sort of grey greens.
Like sludge.
Yeah, sludge greens, yeah. So it was a really blowy, overcast day yesterday. And it was when I started it, so that's that one. Okay, so I'll do a little bit, I've just put a few different things out of the palette. So the sort of greens that you get out of the tube, if these are still wet, right, so I'll just do a little bit on here. These are actually got the same name, these two. So this is sap green.
What's that?
Sap, S-A-P. And sap green is quite a transparent green. So as well as, you know, colours having their sort of properties like different hues, we call it. So it could be like a yellowy green or bluey green, that sort of thing. But it can also be transparent or opaque. And most of the ones I use are actually fairly transparent. But that's the Winsor & Newton sap green. And this one I think was the Jackson sap green. And it's similar, but it's not really quite the same. And they can be quite different when you see them side by side. So some colours you'll find that come in tubes, they vary quite a lot with different manufacturers. So you'll find that, I think I had, at one point, I had a few different sap greens. There was about 4 or 5 different manufacturers, basically tubes that people had given me. And they all look quite different from each other. So it depends what colours they're putting in. So basically, with some colours in tubes, what you're getting is a mix of colours. It's not like a pure pigment. You're getting a few colours mixed together. So that's worth bearing in mind. And they can be quite handy, but it's worth learning which ones you like. So that's that one. Do another. So this other green, I haven't got many greens, but this is the other one I've got that is a very strong, this is phthalo green. As you can see, if I spread that out, it's again quite transparent. If I put it just down on its own, quite a dark green. That's useful for some things, but it's a very, very bluey green. So if I was going to use that in a landscape, I'd have to do quite a bit to adjust that. So typically, if I've got my brown, put a bit of brown in there. There we go. What's this? Vanguard brown. Let's try a bit of that. So I could make that a little bit more naturalistic by adding a little bit of brown in with it. So just mix it on the palette there. And then that would probably be useful for particularly sort of shadow areas. So these sort of areas like this, where it's very, very dark, you could use something like that. Obviously you can mix kind of yellows with it, you can alter it, you'll get a nice vibrant green by just mixing a little bit of yellow in there. So you get something like that. Yeah. So that's, the greens out of the tube. I've already talked about mixing greens. Another one that one of my students told me about actually was mixing yellow and black. So try that a little bit, but not that much. So if I was going to do, say, a colour chart, start off with some lemon yellow, like that, and just the tiniest bit of black. Is that black? I think it is, yep. Just make sure I've got the right page. I think I've got black out there. Yeah. So it would go, it's not going to be a very vibrant green, but you get a kind of green, black. That looks more brown than to me. Well, it's a sort of green in there.
Glad I'm not the only one who's blind.
Yeah. It might be that particular black. I guess they're going to vary a little bit, and then you could work that right the way along, and then come up with something like that, and then. Yeah, that's definitely the black where it's out.
You know what that's good for, don't you? Baby food.
Baby food. Nappies. We're in place of nappies, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. So if we're actually going to try and mix some greens here, like this one here, basically what we've got here is a probably slightly muddy pool, and it's reflecting some of the greens here, but they're almost like a grey green. So with whatever I've got here, let's just use some of the green I've already mixed. I'll need to sort of tone that down. So basically, with the green, you're going to add whatever's opposite on the colour wheel. So that would be a red. So I could try that one, which is, that's not going to be quite right. Let's try the other one. And we'll go back to a bit more green.
I came last week and I promised to bring these this week.
Oh, right, yes. Hello. Thank you. Thanks very much. Present, yes, he popped in last week and said he'd bring some oil, so I've got here right. Yeah, so basically I've used some green and a little bit of crimson. I found the crimson was better than the orange, the red. And I've got to that so far. Obviously that's going to be far too dark, so if I add some white to it, I'm going to get that. Yeah, that's fairly close, isn't it? Sort of grey-green. Might need a tiny bit more blue, tiny bit more red in with that. But you can just tweaking the mix of red, yellow, and blue, and you'll get pretty close to some of the colours you can find there. So it's worth, getting a sheet of plastic, just putting it over your photo and just actually offering up, mixing the colours and just offering them up. This works pretty well with acrylics and oils. Won't really work with watercolours because it will just bubble up. If you're using watercolours, what I would do is get a tiny bit of paper or strip of paper and just put it at the paint at the end of the paper, and then you can then sort of compare that one. What else? So that's that one. Around there, it looks there are some areas that are quite reddy. So that could be a reddy sort of green. But let's go for something, maybe some back here. These got a lot more yellow with them, and it's quite a warm yellow. So again, whatever's on the brush is a green, plus some, use a bit of cadmium yellow. And that's maybe not too bad. I think that's a little bit too bright. And what you'll find is when you're looking at a scene like that, you're sort of seeing it through the atmosphere, and it will desaturate the colours a little bit, particularly the ones in the background. So I probably wouldn't want the green to be as strong here as it would be here. And if you can just soften that out a bit, it will give you that impression of going back into the distance a bit. So again, maybe a little bit of red, just a tiny bit of red, and maybe a little bit of white as well. Perhaps a bit more blue. It's basically just sort of softening that out a little bit. And go with a bit more white. And hopefully get a little bit closer. Whereas the greens in the foreground, they're going to be a lot more vibrant. These sort of areas here, I find it best to get those darker bits in first. Let's just use something out here. So you could kind of scrub something in like this for this darker bit. And then after that, that'll do. Work the brighter greens on the top. So these sort of more kind of a little bit lighter. Can't put these. No, still needs to go lighter. Yeah, those sort of kind of brighter, lighter greens over the top there. And you'll find that if you're careful, you can get quite a bit of wet paint with the oils. You'll get quite a bit of wet paint into the wet paint. Particularly if you just kind of scrub the first layer in like that, and just not have too much paint there, and then you can get lighter paints over the top, like that kind of thing. So, any questions or any?
With a picture like that, where would you start then?
I'd probably start in the background, probably get a bit of sky in, and I'd basically work forward.
Right.
This tree, perhaps that one, almost like sort of the layers, and gradually work my way forward. Perhaps some sky, and probably get these background greens in first, and then the lily pads after.
So opposite to watercolour, where you put the light colours first.
Yes, yeah. If you're working watercolours, I usually go lighter colours to darker colours. And with oils and acrylics, I go darker colours to lighter colours. And in each area, so it'd be like the background first, darker colours, lighter colours. This next layer, darker colours, lighter colours, darker colours, lighter colours. Just gradually work forward. And sometimes I chop and change a little bit, but that's, yeah, generally how it works. Okay. Good.